What am I? The jokester?
Youngster.
There's no
There's
joke.
no jokester this week,
Oh,
unless you want to be one.
Oh.
I did. I sent that already. I sent a picture of a bird already.
Yeah, there you go.
She left like. She was telling me that she's got to be off by that hour though, by 6:30.
It's fine.
Okay.
It should only take an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yvonne's going to be timekeeping for us so that everyone gets their 10 to 15 minutes.
Right.
I did my hair, guys. I put my hair up for you for this interview.
I think the teacher, she left some notes on.
Yeah, she did. I looked at them.
Oh, you did already? Okay.
Yeah.
The professor did?
Yeah.
On what?
On the interview plan.
Oh, I didn't see that under grades.
Yeah.
I had to look at it then.
Yeah, if you go to grades and then you got to click on feedback, it's really weird the way it's done.
Definitely not on Facebook.
4.3, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here it is.
4.3.
Yeah, so you got to click on the submission.
Does anyone have
Click
like the
on that
Canvas app
hyperlink.
on their phone?
Yeah.
No.
I hate that. It's like it's all everywhere.
Yeah, it's a mess. I've tried it once.
Be sure you see the comment. So did she update our I'm not finding the comments.
So click on the item there, and then
Under
on the
grades.
top right, yeah, on the top right, to the right of agenda template, that hyperlink, there's a view feedback button.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I see that now.
Yeah, no, it took me a while.
On 4.3?
Yeah.
I don't have anything listed. I don't even have anything on grades.
So she's saying.
Well, it's not graded yet.
See the
She
comments
didn't
on the
submit it
document?
graded. So click on the hyperlink 4.3, and then it'll say template, and then in the top right, it should say view
I'm going to have to
feedback.
go through this old
So
school.
she has who's facilitating. Oh my gosh.
Which the roles are written out there, so I don't know what she's talking about.
I'm going to try that. You guys might have to send it to me. My computer's being weird right now.
Wait, it says make one document that has all parts of the meeting, including the interview questions. Was it not clear? It says interview questions.
I think she wanted the pre-interview stuff also thrown in there. Pre-interview and post-interview agenda items.
Yeah. You know, Yvonne, remember we were talking about that and we took that out? Or you took it out. I just thought it was better.
I think she'll let us resubmit it. It's just boilerplate crud. You know, there's some content things that she wants more clear questions, but it's just clearing up that stuff that's caused confusion for
How do you
her.
foster an inviting environment where team members are open-minded? Is that her question to us, or is that?
I think that's her rephrasing.
4.3, you said?
Yeah, 4.3.
What the hell is it? I don't know. 3.4, no. 4 points. Where is it? Where is that?
4.3 under grades, and then when you open that, it's going to have the hyperlink, and then to the right it says view feedback. Okay. Okay. So do we need to resubmit that then, you think? Is that what the...
That's what I'm thinking she's asking. Otherwise she wouldn't, otherwise we would have a grade on it already because she's clearly gone through it.
Oh, yeah. 4.3. Ha!
Okay. We talk about it in the post-interview so that we can...
Yeah.
How this needs to be updated, okay?
So go into the thing and then click on the document.
Okay, so we have our roles for the interview. Chris, I was telling them that you're going to be the introducer since you know her. Yeah, and then so I took the timekeeper role, and then we don't have a jokester. Well, you already did the joke.
No, there's no need for a joke. It says on the pre-interview discussion, joke of the day, you can skip this activity.
Oh, fine.
What about challenger? I had myself listed as challenger. We don't need to have a challenger role in,
No.
right? Okay.
No, not in an interview. I wouldn't think, at least.
Whatever. I don't know.
So I'll go through the pre-interview discussion here.
Okay.
And then whatever time we have left, we can, take another look at this interview discussion or interview questions and her feedback.
Okay.
Okay.
So
What's up, Beth?
I can't see any of her comments actually.
Do you
I don't know
have
what's going on.
Do you have it on your phone? Do you have the app on your phone?
Yeah, I do, but it's not coming up.
So
though.
go to grades real quick,
I did.
and then
And
go
it's-
to sorry. Yeah, and then you found the assignment, right? The 4.3.
Yes.
Okay, and then there should be hit
Go
the
to submission and
Yep,
rubric, right?
submission and rubric, and then it should load. You see those little blue dots that are all over the paper?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
go ahead.
her.
Yeah, go ahead and click on those. Yeah.
You have to expand it. I noticed that mine was
Mhm.
switched, so I couldn't read it all.
Oh, she's making comments.
So,
Okay.
before we get lost, I would like to go through this, and then whatever time we have left, we'll go through our feedback.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Whatever it is.
We have post interview discussion
Mhm.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, what I'm looking at here, we've got the host recording, correct?
Yes.
Cool. We look like we're in gallery view.
Oh my gosh! What? I didn't even. What? Yes, we are.
Love it. All right. We'll be doing some introductions. I'm Harrison Platt. I'm the facilitator of this meeting.
Mhm.
I'm Yvonne Cowan. I'm the timekeeper of this meeting. Sorry.
Chris, and then I'm going to be the introducer and host.
I am Kyle Garvish, and I am the thinker and the non-jokester of this meeting.
Perfect. We'll also be doing that once the interview starts.
Oh,
Okay,
sweet.
so as they come in, and the introducer, welcomes the interviewee, then we'll all introduce ourselves and our roles. Okay.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yep.
All right. We're not doing a joke of the day, and we're just going to review the agenda and interview guide.
Oh yeah.
Make any needed changes. Okay, perfect. Just wanted to get through all that, and now we can start reviewing. So we got our roles there. I'm updating my agenda right here with some of the comments she's made. So I think one thing that confused her as well is that we have our names and then a brief kind of description of what all those questions are kind of pertaining to. So please tell us a little bit about your background, management, personality, and how it affects your leadership style. I think she's seeing that as a question we're giving her, when in reality, that question is being broken down into multiple questions. So I think that's some of the confusion
My
she
connection
has.
is unstable.
But we're not asking that question, right? The stuff that's bolded, that's just kind of us categorizing
Right.
those.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not asking that bolded question because we're asking the same questions later on in that topic.
I did change the second question in the in the introducer list. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. It's your
Okay.
question.
Okay.
I think that we should drop this in a Google Doc real quick so that we can all look at the same thing, because
Yeah.
it's important that we have all the same thing. What do you think?
Yeah. There's a handful of Google Docs out there right now too that are different iterations of the same stuff.
So we're not going to use this template.
No, we will, but we're
We
just
have-
going to pop this in the Google Doc. That way we can make some of those adjustments in real time. That way we don't all have like a bunch of different.
Do we have to fit a
She's a
responses
business
down, or do you
professional,
have to
so we're not
record?
going to have to lead her down too much of this.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be able to ask the general, especially since she already has the questions. I'm sure she's preparing her answers already.
Right. Yeah, she's seen it, and I asked her, I'm like, anything seemed difficult? She's like, no, it's pretty straightforward. I'm like, all right.
There's like an agenda for
All right, I just updated the Google Doc with what I have.
Which one are we looking at?
I don't know. Oh, that's the
Did you send an email to the link of it, or how?
No, it's one that we've already shared.
Which one is that one? God, my
Says
internet.
here,
so bad
I'll
over
change the name of it. Interview guide work in progress. So it should say interview guide work in progress now.
Are we recording right now?
Yep.
Oh. Whoops. Swore a little bit.
I don't think she cares.
Which one are we using?
The one that says work in progress.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
There's so many damn emails here. So there's
There you go.
So any changes you've done to your questions and stuff like that?
interview guide and the interview guide and invitation to edit, is that the one?
No, interview guide work in progress.
Oh, well,
Got it shared with me?
so you guys,
Go to
yeah, you're gonna have to resend it.
No, it's in there. Go to File, go to Open, go to Shared with Me.
Oh, you're gonna go on to the ASU?
No, onto the Google Drive. Click on the last email link where it has the
Through
Google Doc. Pardon? On the last email link, any one of the last email ones, grab a Google Doc, open it up, and then go to File, Open, and then go Shared with Me. And the first one, the
Oh,
first
you got it. He
left,
got
I
it.
believe, should say, yeah? Can you find it? Did you find it?
Yeah, he sent it.
Okay.
I also found.
Thank you. Thank you.
I got you, boo. I also found I could have just dropped it
When
like
I think of
that
Hank,
in the chat.
Oh, yeah, huh?
when I think of the word hang, I think of, I hate to be disrespectful, but you ever seen South Park? The Christmas
Yeah.
movie?
Are you talking Christmas poo there?
Yeah. That was funny, man.
I heard one of my buddies came up to me. They're like, "Oh, did you know there's a Hank in South Park?" I'm like, "No way! I love that show. I love to have a character of myself." Oh, it's a poo. Oh, dreams
There
shattered.
was my joke of the
Love it.
dreams. It's crashing down. Agenda template. Is that where we're at? So that's what we're on right now, is agenda template.
It should say interview guide work in progress on the top.
Yeah.
Anonymous sheep is in here. What? Is that you? Someone is an anonymous sheep. It says on the
An
top.
anonymous sheet?
Sheep. If you look in the top right, it says who's
Oh,
on
yeah,
the
yeah. No,
document.
that's not me.
Kyle's gone anonymous.
How
Okay,
do I
I need
get rid of that?
clarification on this question that someone proposed. How do you maintain and uphold your leadership role? I
It was supposed to
don't
be.
know what that means.
I think you can remove it. I think it was supposed to be in relation to her holding meetings. You know.
Uh-huh.
You know, I can only view. I can't even make changes.
Uh,
I don't
You
know.
can't make changes?
Technology and me. I'm in view only, so I'd have to send a request.
yeah, send a request. I'll accept it.
I've never been accepted.
I don't know why I'm getting so nervous.
Are you? Why?
I don't know.
You know her.
All
I
right.
don't know.
You already got the job, dude. You're good.
Maybe it's because you're anonymous there, Kyle.
Kyle's anonymous?
Yeah, Kyle's. If you hover over the names at the very top,
Yeah.
it'll show there's Yvonne, Christopher, and anonymous sheep. So, are you in incognito mode, or I don't know? That's
I
weird.
have no idea what I did. Did you accept it?
I thought I did. Here. Oh, here we go. Copy this link. Just click this in chat. For some reason, the link that I sent before was view only. I changed it to edit.
So now you're gonna let me just get out of this one.
Yeah. Yeah, and then just click the second link in chat. The one towards the bottom.
Okay. All right. So you have another one in here. Invitation to edit. There we are. Let's see. Come on, meow.
Oh. What's her email?
Yeah. Got it. Ah. What does this say? Okay. Now you see everything, right?
Yep.
So
Now
she
that's
wants
you.
all of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, she wants everything, top to bottom.
That's what we
Who?
we thought that she wanted all that stuff hold, right?
The
she?
pre and post.
Isn't that the
interview
conversation
stuff.
that we had on Saturday? I don't know. I was cooking.
Yeah, see, I
Hey,
took out all this
Chris, I'm sorry you
because
got
I was
sick.
like, this is the same thing that we already always talk about. I didn't realize she
Yeah.
needed that in there. Okay.
It's all right. I forgive you, Kyle.
Chris, did you have the flu?
I did, man. It was pretty bad.
Yeah. It's called a virtual flu. You're welcome.
I know. I was telling everyone, I was like, dude, and you know what's funny is everyone's like, dude, you should have muted him. I'm like, I know, man, that's what I said.
You should have muted him.
It's nasty, isn't it?
It was pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. I've never had a flu where I hit like literally every symptom. You know, maybe I just had, yeah. Like, dang.
I still have it. My voice still hurts. I'm congested yet.
Oh, my back is in pain.
I'm bad.
So how long is it? Like a 3-day flu?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first symptom?
Just tired. I was tired at first. I didn't even know I was sick. I just thought I was tired.
I'm never going to know that I have the flu then.
Yeah. So I was like loading on coffee. And then towards the end of the night, my friends were like, "You want to go drink?" Yeah, maybe later. I'll meet you guys. Laid in bed, and then next thing I know, I woke up. I got like a fever. I'm like shaking. I'm like throwing on jackets and stuff. It was pretty bad.
Do all these questions look like the same ones that were submitted?
Yeah.
Yep.
Everyone can confirm that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
I can kill that, yeah.
Who has the question that says, I thought we had a question that said, what personal or professional, here we go, this is it. Okay.
So we don't want to change it too much because she already has these questions. And so we need to make sure we're not altering the questions too much.
Yeah, no, I know.
And then depending on how long she takes to on answering it, we might not.
Yeah, if I were you, I would prioritize what questions you want to throw out first. That way you have a couple to fall back on if they're short questions, or short answers. But
Is it okay if I give her like a 10-minute warning?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, 7-minute warning?
7-minute warning?
Yep.
Yeah.
Chris, are you not going to ask what personal experience exemplifies your leadership style?
Yeah, I'm
Are
going
you
to change
boiling
it.
that down?
Yeah, I boiled it down.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, if that's okay.
No, that's fine. I just want to make sure that you're not going to get a one-word answer out of that question.
Right. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So this question,
Harmonious.
team seems disgruntled. How would you engage them to become a high-performing group? I think we changed that one.
Did we?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, where's that at conflict?
It's in the second, no, it's in the best practices in constructing your own team and considerations to those practices.
Yeah, it's still in there on the one that we submitted to the professor.
It is?
Uh-huh. It's the last item there.
Okay.
She didn't say anything about it, whether it was a good or a bad question. So it's up to your discretion how you want to handle that.
Yeah.
You know, maybe just leave it in the end and let it sit there if need be or not.
It has 15 minutes.
What is this person's name?
Donalyn.
I can't spell that.
What's her name?
It's Donalyn. DONNALYN.
You put that
Not
somewhere
her
in
last
this
name, her
template.
first name.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah. All right.
It's
Is that her
Donalyn.
first name or her last name?
What's your middle name, Kyle?
That's her first name.
Yes, Donalyn. Kyle Mick?
Donna Lynn.
Donalyn.
No. Yes, I'm Irish. No, Kyle Michael.
Kyle Michael. Okay, so Kyle Michael.
There you go.
I don't say that. That's my dad's name. Donna.
Donalyn.
Love that.
Not Donna.
All right, I'm going to use the restroom before we start.
All right.
Okay.
That's good. All right. Well, yep. Sounds good. Maybe me too.
You too?
Yep.
Okay. You're right here.
Yeah, my lower back started to hurt when I got sick.
Did it?
That's why I found out that I was sick. Yeah, that's how I know when I get sick. My lower back starts to just really ache, and then I start getting night sweats, or like sweats all over my body. And I'm congested yet. I am very congested.
Now, are you the
I've been
typical Marine
coughing a
with
lot.
neck, back, and feet problems still?
Yeah, I have a lot of back problems.
Yeah.
I actually am. I'm disabled. I'm a disabled vet, so because I
Yeah.
got blown up 3 times.
Oh,
So so I have shrapnel scars and stuff.
not good. Yeah, I have friends that
I
are
think I'm like,
Marines, and they all have the, back, neck, feet problems. They all get weekly or bi-weekly massages through massage therapy because it's just, can't do it. The whole yoga and
I
anti-inflammatory
actually pay my wife to do it.
whole thing. Huh?
I pay my wife.
Oh,
I pay my wife to massage me.
that's good. We're
She
recording.
actually makes me pay her money.
We're recording.
I'm kidding. Not like that.
I know you're not. I'm just saying. I just
Gutter.
realized we're still recording. They went to the bathroom, but we're still recording.
I didn't even realize that. No one even told me. Oh, man.
Chris said we're recording. We're still recording, right, Chris? Oh, sorry, I apologize. We're still recording, right, Chris?
Yep.
Do we need to stop the recording and start it again when it starts?
No, I think it's
It's gonna roll through. Okay.
I'm gonna send the invite right now. Gmail. Yep.
Geez, even Hanky even brought a polo, man. I should have put on like a tux from like the waist up.
Chilling in your boxers.
Just chilling in my boxers with like a tie. You don't do that? You have virtual teams. My buddy Dan does that. He just chills. He has like pair of khaki shorts on with like he's all like professional up here.
He's wearing like a bathing suit.
No.
He wore a swimsuit one time and he was sitting there with a tie on and a dress shirt, comb over. And
That's what the
he's
guys
like, all right,
would do.
man, let's go.
That's what the guys would do at my fraternity for picture days. It was only ever waist up. So guys are just showing up, like rolling out of bed, put on their boxers and a tux or suit and jacket.
I would do it. I really would.
I'm gonna pass out. There you go. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Where is she?
All right, so everyone is looking at the Google Drive as your agenda from interview begins here.
Yes.
Okay, so our interviewee will pop in, and that's going to be your cue, Chris. Say a nice introduction, and then introduce yourself, and then we'll go around, and we'll all introduce ourselves, and from there, Chris, you can take on your questions.
She's trying to get. She says she didn't get my email. Let me send it again then. See what's going on. Oh my gosh. Invite. I feel like. Do I use default email? Just default email?
Default email?
You know when you're inviting people, it goes default email, Gmail, and Yahoo Mail?
I don't know what's her. I think default then, right? Because it's not Yahoo.
Yeah, and then you add your own @.
Okay. 2 US 1375-3178 at starbucks.com. Right. Send. How about now?
Found that.
How about that?
Where are you graduating, Hank?
Sometime this upcoming spring, early summer. Fingers crossed, at least. So.
You don't have a minor?
Right now, I'm doing all my organizational leadership classes, and then I haven't decided on a minor or what minor it would be. So.
Oh, she got it. Okay.
Hi.
Oh, perfect.
Hi.
Hello, guys.
Hi, Donalyn.
Hi.
Hello, everybody. This is Donalyn Sanchez. Wait, I'm going in correct order, right, Hank? Okay. All right. This is Donalyn Sanchez. She's my store manager. She is a store manager. She has experience in other teams other than just mine. She's won. Here's a fun fact. She's won store manager of the quarter 3 times. So,
Very cool.
yeah.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Just a brief introduction. Aside from me winning the store manager for my district 3 times, Starbucks for 13 years, and before being a store manager, I was actually a dual store manager. So that was in charge of 2 stores. And so I'm very excited to meet you guys, and I'm glad that Christopher gave me the opportunity to give you some insight.
So it's a pleasure meeting you. My name's Harrison Platt. I'll be facilitating for the meeting. And then we have Yvonne.
Hi, I'm Yvonne Cowan.
Hi.
Kyle.
Hi, I'm Kyle Garbage. How you doing?
Kyle.
And you already know Chris then, I'd hope.
Yeah, I'm Chris. Yeah.
All right.
This is
Okay.
a small class. There's only 4 of you.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
just this one team.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to jump right into it. Is that okay with you, Donalyn?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to get on the topic of a little bit about your background and your management personality and how it affects your leadership style.
Mhm.
So if you don't mind me asking, what is your educational background and how would you describe your leadership, your personal leadership style?
So initially I was going to be a nurse. So I was going to school for nursing. And at the time I was working at Starbucks, and I'd seen all of what it could bring for me as far as being able to connect with customers and getting to know partners, we call partners employees, on a daily basis. And so I got my AS in business admin at Ohlone College in 2006. God, that sounds so far from now. And so I think, you know, at a young age, I grew up with a lot of nurses in my house, and my mom was a nurse, my aunts were nurses. And for me, it created a culture of belonging, right? And I think that's what Starbucks is all about for me, is belonging. And so I would categorize my leadership as being a servant leader. And that is really to help my partners grow in self-development, give them the tools and the resources that they need to be successful.
Mm-hmm. And then, so you mentioned earlier, right? And then I remember when you were a dual manager. And then would you say that your previous roles, you know, as a dual manager and you manage at other stores, you know, oh, wow, my questions. So how are your previous roles pertaining to your involvement with leading teams? So how did that develop you, those previous roles of management and different teams? How did that develop you into who you are today, though?
So dual managing 2 stores, essentially I was in charge of about 30 partners. They might not seem like a lot, but you know, technically they were 2 establishments. And so really working through my shift supervisors and being clear as far as what my expectations of them were. You know, I'm only there for 40 hours, you know, and so there'd be no way for me to be at both stores, you know, day in and day out. And so I had to trust, but validate that my partners, my shift supervisors were able to, you know, essentially act out what I expected out of them. But I think, most importantly is being able to trust them, but also validate that the work was done.
Right. And then speaking of trust and like, how do you kind of gauge that? Like how do you know who to put trust into and lead?
Well, being as that I inherited one of the stores, I had to work more closely with those shift supervisors to be able to get to know, what their strengths and what their opportunities were and play on to those, because not every shift supervisor and or partner works the same. And so to be able to, communicate on a level where we were both have a commonality to work with one another as a team versus them individually. I think that was very important for me to, establish early on.
Right. Yeah. So, and then I'm assuming, right, these groups are very diverse. I know it feels a little awkward because I was probably there with you, and I know, and then, but I know these groups are like, they're pretty diverse groups, group of individuals. Um, uh, what? Oh, my questions I feel like I'm so sorry. So like, so what would be your strengths in terms of diversity?
Well, every shift supervisor, every partner is different, and I think that it would be a shame to not, listen to what they can contribute to the team and to the pot. I think with that, you have to ask proactive questions. You have to ask the right questions to be able to get, the answers that you want. As far as diversity goes, Starbucks promotes, inclusivity. So with that comes, a variety of different ideas, a variety of different backgrounds, male, female, transgender, religion, and Starbucks always promotes that, with welcome arms, and that's again one of the reasons why I love working for Starbucks. It's given me the ability to be able to play on those diverse, roles and characteristics in each person that I work with.
And then would you consider that a strength? And then what are you, and then and then what other strengths do you think you have in leading a team?
I mean, I always think diversity is a strength. We live in the Bay Area. We're a melting pot of different backgrounds, and to recognize that only makes you stronger as a leader. As far as strengths go, communicating obviously is a big thing. Again, I'm not in store, and so it's important for me to communicate my expectations to my team. It's important for me to be organized, for my partners to be able to work in an environment where they feel less stress. It's important to be planful because there are a lot of things and a lot of communications coming from high up. And again, I think when it comes to planning, in order for your team to be successful, they need the tools and they need the knowledge to be successful.
Are there any opportunities for improvement that you can tell us about yourself?
I mean, yeah, of course, there's always opportunities. It's so funny. I just had my PDC, my partner development conversation today. And one of the things that, my goal 9 to 12 months from now is to become a district manager. And with that, obviously comes more responsibility, right? And so I needed to really open my eyes as far as, what contributions I could make further, because there's a lot of leaders out there in DM roles who have specific skill set that I don't have, right? And so it was really about recognizing what those were. One of them is confidence, right? I think that while I've been with Starbucks for 13 years, and I'm very knowledgeable, I think I can't help but lack the confidence in knowing that my peers know what I know, right? But I think when I put myself out there to be vulnerable, it only makes me more confident. I think that was when I was talking to Patrick, who is my district manager, about, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to fail. when I, in turn accepted it myself,
Mhm.
I noticed my confidence growing within myself.
And then, when working with your teams and any teams, whether the ones you lead or the other managers that you work with, but how would you personally improve productivity among those teams?
My peers?
Yeah, among your peers, or I mean, whichever. Yeah, among your peers, or what's actually no. Let's just stick with leadership. I'm sorry. Just among your team right now. Yeah.
So productivity, right? I think it's, again, we are in a business, and we have to be efficient. And I think that with efficiency, we're only going to get better. Starbucks prides themselves with, being number one in customer service. We are a small volume store. We do about 25,000 a week. In comparison to a drive-through that does, $50,000, right? I think what I tell my partners all the time is, as far as, how can we set ourselves apart from, our sister and brother stores, and that is making sure we go above and beyond what our expectations are, and knowing that in order for us to be successful, we have to be consistent about our approach. We have to be consistent about what drivers we've set in place, and be disciplined to see it through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I think that's it for, I guess, my introductory questions, and then we're gonna move on to Yvonne Donnellan. This is Yvonne. Oh, you guys are
Hi.
and Yvonne is Donnellan.
Hi, Donnellan. Thank you again, too, for your information. It was really helpful to know more about Starbucks, and definitely the information you shared with us helped us understand you as a leader. I like the servant leadership role, and I could see how that fits you, and I could see how also you'd be able to draw out motivation in the employees that you served. So thank you for that, for sharing that. So talking a little bit about best practices in constructing a team, both a management team and also your individual, I think you could call them partners, the employees, which I like that word. And I could see how it fits in Starbucks, just in the environment that they have when you walk into a store. You don't feel as if, it's a subordinate situation. You feel as if you're all equal. So in speaking a little bit about that, though, when you're building your individual, we'll start with management team. What do you consider to be a priority? Is it a personality fit with your other managers to slide that new manager in, or do you feel that a skill set is more important?
I think it depends on the establishment. When we're talking about Starbucks, I think that skill set is something you learn over time.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, when we do the hiring, or when I do the hiring, it's based on, my gut feeling on this person, if they're going to work out, again, how their personality is, how they're going to vibe well with the team.
Mm-hmm.
And then with with time, the skill set, then comes. Now, if I were to look at it as hiring a shift supervisor, then yes, I would, take into consideration what kind of skill set they have. Being that they're applying for a shift supervisor role, they have to have some type of management in there, so that way I know that they can confidently lead a team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Sorry.
No worries. No worries. We're all animal lovers. We understand. So that makes sense. Now, you spoke about diversity with Starbucks, and that's also very apparent, and it's been in the news and everything. I can see how that draws you to it, being in the area that you are. But when you're speaking about diversity, what do you consider to be, how do you implement and utilize that within your team? Not only in diversity and in, I guess, specifically in personality diversity. Let's focus on that.
Okay. Well, I think it's important to listen to my partners and my employees, as well as my peers, because there are specific things that they can contribute, right?
Right.
Diversity, everyone has their story, and come to work daily, right? And that's why I appreciate Starbucks so much, is because every single partner has a different story that they can relate to a customer, right? And then I think that's why our customers come in every single day. You know, that's why we have an increase of our stocks like daily. Yeah, you know, sometimes with like things are happening and it's been down, but you know, they've been on a trend up, and I think that attributes to commitment we've made to invest ourselves into really getting to know our customers, you know, understanding, you know, the demographics and what our customers need, and that, you know, attributes to that works in my store and in being diverse.
Sure, absolutely. So when you're speaking about your team, the next question is, what are some goals that you like to set for your team? But specifically, we understand that there are goals that pertain to your store achieving, but let's talk about the synergy of your team and your team dynamic. What are some things that you're looking for when you're building a team or creating a team? What are some of the goals that you use to create that synergy?
Yeah, so you know, I could base it off of my peer group, my district. You know, one of the things we do is we sit in pods and we go over our P&L, or profit and loss statement. And we talk about, you know, how can we maximize the bottom line? You know, and that means controlling our contributions, right? And that's, you know, waste, that's labor, that's everything in that category. And as far as being able to sit down and come to, you know, how are we going to close that gap and setting those expectations again, and then going back to it and readjusting that plan if need so.
Right.
And I think it's most important, you know, to know that you have a plan. You've checked up on that plan, and you've again validated whether or not it's been successful. How are you going to adjust it, and how can you move forward from there?
Right. And that makes sense. But finances aside, what about soft set goals? Do you have those that you consider pertinent to your team, you know, upholding that team, building that team?
Yeah. So again, like we have goals that, you know, higher level leadership kind of filtrate to us. You know, one of the things that I do is I try to set incentives, right? I think that teams and partners and people in general are driven by incentives.
Yes.
And so having an incentive to work towards, I definitely see results. Now, you know, on the offset, if there weren't incentives, right, how do we then have our partners buy into it? So it's from a beneficial standpoint, because we can't always give out, you know, incentives.
Right.
But that's just one of the things, you know, drives partners to actually.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And as a personal partner at my employee, I'm personally very motivated when someone says, you win a Starbucks card if you, I'm like all about that.
Yes, I'm sure.
I'm one of your loyal customers, we'll say.
We appreciate you.
On the reverse, it's absolutely outstanding to motivate and to incent. But what if the goals are not being met? How do you redirect your team, and what opportunities do you look for, or what corrections do you make to get back on track if the goals aren't being met? We'll talk, of course, financially, you covered that, but what about soft set goals? Or let me give you an example. For example, if you have two team members that, you know, you've given your soft set goal, but they're not quite seeing.
So if I have like two partners who I feel like I've set my expectation and I've been clear as far as what the plan and what the goal is, and the goal is not met, like say within that week, right? It's a conversation between that person and I, and really asking the right questions as far as what obstacles got in the way from them actually getting to that goal.
Right.
And I think that if it means that the goal was too far stretched for them, you know, how can I adjust it to make it more attainable for them? You know, we see that all the time, like from a bigger standpoint financially, right? If we're talking about being in my peer group, talking about my P&L, and for some reason last month I didn't hit my sales target $1,000, right? So how do I then propose that to my supervisor team to where $1,000 to them seems like a lot of money, right? But knowing that in that month I can disperse that $1,000 100 one week, 200 next week? What does that look like for them so that it's more attainable and not such this big feat?
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely. That sounds good. And then lastly, we want to talk about when you're assimilating yourself within an existing team, both a positive and negative experience. How do you do that? What are some of the best practices that you have when you're merging yourself into an existing team?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I could use my example as a dual store manager.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at a store with Christopher for, I don't know, about 3 or 4 years. And then I was given the opportunity to dual store manage another store. And so knowing that that store had a lot of opportunity because they had such huge turn, I think I was probably their 5th store manager. And I think they didn't trust. They didn't trust that Starbucks had their best interests, right? And so I felt like it was really necessary, one, to have a one-on-one conversation with each shift supervisor, because again, aside from me being there, if I'm not there, the shift supervisor essentially is the manager in charge, right? So knowing that I had to get their buy-in on what my expectations were, and really listening to what their concerns were, I think that that was a huge thing, is because, you know, some feedback they had given to me was they felt like they weren't heard, right? And, you know, shame on us for not listening to them. So I thought it was really important for me to, one, listen, actively listen, not say anything,
Right.
be a sponge really, and then facilitate from there.
And that's quality. And that goes back to your servant leadership, most definitely. But active listening, you know, as a manager, I can tell that you definitely do. You're engaging with us so well. Thank you very much again. That's the questions for me. I'm going to turn it over to Hank now.
That's great. So give me 1 second while I hit this timer. I've got a handful of questions prepared here. So from what I was told, you had some experience with virtual teams and traditional teams. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, define virtual team. I mean, I do conference calls.
Okay, yeah. Well, so what my question is does the way you evaluate traditional teams that you see on a face-to-face basis, like often, compared to a virtual team that you see maybe, you know, let's say face-to-face once a week, once a month, how does that differentiate how they're evaluated and how you watch their goals and how they're performing?
In my honest opinion, I think that virtual conference calls are less effective. I think it promotes partners or my peers to not participate as much, just based on my my experiences having them. So I've known when we have these, you know, conference calls, it's usually my DM, you know, probing it out of us and trying to draw it out of us, versus in a, you know, conference style setting. I believe people are more willing to share their ideas. I preferably like to sit down and have a face-to-face conversation versus a virtual.
Okay, yeah. If there's ever a situation where you're in a meeting and it starts to go off topic, you start to lose the control of, you know, the meeting that you're supposed to be facilitating. How do you then, you know, step back and regain those team member focuses?
When the last time I facilitated a meeting was a shift supervisor workshop. In particular, you know, this group was pretty rowdy. But, you know, the second that I had the opportunity to voice, you know, why we were there and the importance of what we were trying to get out of this this workshop, then did I see, you know, the light bulbs kind of click, like, okay, so this is an investment on my development. If I can't get what I need out of it, then I shouldn't be here. I think it's important to make sure, you stick to, the plan, stick
Mhm.
to whatever message it is you are trying to convey. Because ultimately, when we have these things, it's really an investment for the employee, for the company, and it's a lot of money that we spend
Mhm.
with partners.
So you're saying, restating those action items and goals for the meeting, and then bring it back to yourself and saying, this is what we need to get out of it and what I'm looking to get out of it as well.
Yes, essentially.
Okay, great. Here, let me see, I lost myself. How do you foster an inviting environment where team members are open-minded? So if you're in a meeting, or you're, let's say, just within your regular work environment with one of the stores that you're working with, how do you create that environment that allows everyone to share those ideas that you want from them and benefit from the diversity and different opinions that you have there?
I've always tried to, create an environment where partners are, vocal and open to share ideas. I think that creating an environment where partners are willing to, share those things and know that sometimes they may or may not work out,
Mm-hmm.
it's a good thing, right? I think it's a good thing to fail. It's a learning lesson we all can learn from. Recently, we, as store managers, went to leadership in Chicago, and I think, it just further solidified, my purpose in fostering my partners, in growing, in in being confident in talking about what it is that they want to develop, what it is as far as ideas that they want to implement to make, operationally things go smoother. And again, it's my job as their leader, it's my job as their manager, to help support them.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. Are there any team building exercises that you've personally done yourself and thought, this is great, I want to implement this with my teams, in order to kind of foster some of that camaraderie and trust and openness to share their opinions?
Mm-hmm. Not in my store particularly, but there was a team building that I had helped facilitate in my district. We do assimilations when we have different leaders that come into our district. And, I was a part of, how can we, ensure that our new DM that is coming in, has our trust in knowing that we are here to work as a team. Obviously, we have differences and we have different ideas and perspectives. And so this activity we had done were just basically, cards that we had asked one another personally. And it opened up this huge door of, we are managers of such tenure. I mean, all of us have been with Starbucks more than 10 plus years, right? And so that's a wealth of knowledge. And this DM that had just come in, he probably had less tenure, right? And so whether or not he was intimidated, I think that activity alone just kind of opened it up for us to be vulnerable, even if they were just, basic questions.
Mm-hmm. My last question here is, do you have an example or anything that you typically do to maintain and have that day-to-day touch basis with your your partners, such as when you come onto a team, everyone's revitalized and they're ready to push towards a goal, but from that day-to-day, maintaining people's priorities and their determination to reach those goals, how do you inspire them and keep them going when it just feels like it's been week after week, month after month, and people are starting to lose steam?
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, one, I love my job, so I don't ever see myself feeling like, I'm tired of it or anything. And if I do, then I feel like, okay, maybe I need to reconsider if this is the right position for me. But as far as maintaining, myself and my own well-being and making sure my partners are challenged on a daily basis, I owe it to them. I owe it to them to be knowledgeable. I owe it to them to, know what communication high field leadership are filtering down. And I think it's a disservice, to them if I don't give them that information, because that information can in turn make them successful.
Okay, great. Thanks for those answers. They're really insightful, because to me, leading is not just coming in and stating a vision and telling people to go. It's that day-to-day, you got to keep people focused. How are you going to corral them and show your real leadership through your day-to-day activities? So those are great answers. Thank you.
You, Hank, I agree with you 100%. If you want, partners and employees to rally behind you, you have to be that example.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kyle. How are you doing? I can see that you're really passionate about your job. That's awesome. That is cool that you really think of your employees as partners. That is awesome.
Well, let me just say this, that we technically are partners because we own part of Starbucks.
That's cool.
There you go.
That's awesome. I think that's really cool. I really do. That is awesome. You kind of more like a family type style. That is great. That's your retention must be really good at Starbucks then. That's awesome. That's cool. But I had a question.
Like 0% for a while.
Wow.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
And if I've lost partners, it's because they've graduated and gone to their career.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, in Starbucks, they do put up quite a bit of money for going to school, right?
Yes, we help, like Christopher, we help them go to school for free at ASU.
That is great. That is awesome. Wow. So my line of questioning is going to be dealing with your experiences with conflict in teams. Okay. And my first question is, when it comes to teams, would you prefer leading a harmonious team or one that has conflicts in it?
I'm pretty sure all of us would love to, manage a harmonious team. That just sounds like a utopia. But I truly believe that a team with conflict only further incites, ideas, it further incites partners to freely express who they are. And I think that it only makes us stronger as a team, knowing that as a collective, we have all of these differences, but how can we meet, through a commonality and work through those commonalities together?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Yeah. So basically, you guys are promoting thinking in the team. You're collaborating together. So that's really cool. That is awesome. As far as negative conflicts goes, what steps do you take to eliminate that?
Perfect. So I can use an example. I had two shift supervisors who, sorry, I'm gonna wait for the train to pass by.
Yeah, sure.
Two shift supervisors who were butting heads. And, aside from that, there have been past experiences where have known where partners have had disagreements. So what I've done in the past and what I continue to do is I stop it in its tracks. I think, again, I'm not in my store 24/7. And so each day, each minute that passes by, where something is not resolved, I believe it festers. And I think, it's very important to address it head on versus, turning a blind eye. I believe turning a blind eye is only condoning the behavior.
Yeah. That's awesome. So just basically biting it right in the butt right there, huh?
Yeah. Not afraid to do that.
That's awesome. That is cool. So what are your considerations when approaching conflict in the workplace?
Say that one more time. You kind of broke out.
I'm sorry. My internet's bad. I live in the north woods of Wisconsin. It's my internet.
Wisconsin.
Yes.
He complains about it constantly.
I do. I want to be in California. I really do. You guys keep talking about the Bay Area.
Okay, one more time, Kyle. One more time.
Okay, so when it comes down to conflict, what are your considerations when approaching conflict in the workplace? Like, what do you do like what's the first thing you do when you come up to conflict in the workplace, that negative conflict?
One, I think it's important to address it behind closed doors. I don't think you should ever address conflict in front of everybody. I think it can be humiliating for another partner to know that you're addressing something that could put them on the spotlight, even though it's, you know, not the spotlight they probably are looking towards. But I also think it's important to be able to in that moment, build that relationship and trust with that partner, knowing that you're really trying to help them in their growth and development. Because whether or not it's conflict, it's an issue. And if it's an issue we can help, you know, resolve together, I would like to do that with them. Now, if it's something that, you know, I've addressed over and over again, and obviously it's, you know, a conversation that is, you know, documented, you know, obviously there's steps after that, but it really is, you know, I would like to be progressive when it comes to having a conversation about conflict, because, you know, we can't grow from continuously dwelling on the same issues.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see when you're coming up to the negative conflict, or when you're having to deal with it and you're bringing the person in, do you see it as more of like a burden, or do you see it more of it as room for growth?
Oh, growth, for sure. I mean, you know, I think conflict doesn't just come out of thin air. I mean, it's because a partner has a concern, a partner maybe has a frustration that they would like to address. Whether or not they feel comfortable telling me what that is, it's my job to ask the right questions to get it out of them. You know, there's a certain way you want to say things to where partners feel comfortable and feel like they can open up to you. You know, I deal with I have like 17 partners, all of which are different, all of which require a different approach. And I've had the ability to know them these past 3 to 5 years. And I'm very grateful because, you know, we've grown as, you know, a team, we've grown as leaders, as partners. And that's based on me having a conversation solely to them. So that way they feel like the conversation I'm having with them is not just a general conversation. It really is to get to know them and to really find out what the heart of the issue is.
That's awesome that that when you're dealing with that negative conflict, that you're not doing it right out in the open. I have known tons of managers that just do that right out in the open, and it really does demean the employee partner in your organization. So that's awesome that you bring it behind closed doors and you're able to kind of help them. And you know, a conflict isn't about just, you know, kind of dealing with a problem. No, it's helping people grow. So that's cool that you think of it like that. It's cool that you promote that in there at Starbucks. So what steps do you take to build positive working relationships with your team?
So I have partner development conversations with my team. I think it's very important to stay in touch as far as what their career goals are. You know, why are they at Starbucks? What can they take working at Starbucks? You know, I tell my partners all the time when I sit down with them, you know, Starbucks is just Starbucks, right? You're just here to work. What I would like for you to get out of working at Starbucks there's a lot of tools and there's a lot of resources that you can help, you know, help you along whatever career path you decide to do. And I don't think partners realize that when I actually put it forth to them. You know, I have a partner who just graduated from San Jose State, and you know, she's going into, I think it's what is she going into? Computer science of some sort. And so, you know, I wanted to make sure that she knew I was there to support her. And that meant maybe doing some mock interviews. Maybe that meant setting up an interview with my boss. So that way she felt comfortable, because again, it's just so much more than just Starbucks. And that's what I try to promote. It's not just about Starbucks. It's about how you can progress in your life career.
Well, you know, Donalyn, I can tell you're a really good leader, because you're actually making an imprint on people. Like, you're basically making a professional imprint on people, and you're setting, you're you're setting up for success, and that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, that is really cool. Um, so how do you manage different types of conflict? Um, basically, so you got the positives, you got the negatives. Do you how do you manage, let's first go with positive. How do you manage that positive conflict? So people they're in debates right now. How do you manage that?
Yeah, I think it's important, obviously, to be able to compromise and listen. Again, I think, through this whole thing, it's about listening to, whatever conflict and or things that are brought to the table for partners. Knowing that there's always a common ground that all of us can come to, and then go from there. So that way partners and or employees feel like they're included. Because I think partners can easily feel excluded when they feel like their idea and or their thoughts aren't brought to the table. So my job again is to help recognize those partners, to know that they have a voice and they have an opinion that matters, whether or not it is in line with everyone else. It doesn't matter. It matters to me and matters to everyone else. So that's what I try to help facilitate too.
That's cool. So being a listener, that's awesome. And you got to be a listener before you become a leader, right?
Oh
So,
yeah.
awesome. As far as negative, how do you manage that different type of that type of conflict? Now, I know you said you bring it in, behind closed doors and stuff, but when you go first approaching that, when you know it's happening,
Yeah.
hey, get into my office, you don't obviously don't do that, but how do you do that?
I think, if we're in a group setting and there's conflict, I think it's about, how do you digress it to where it's not so elevated, right? And I think
Mhm.
it can easily be elevated. And how can I, in my tone, make it so that way, yes, it's negative, but how can we turn it to where it is positive? But then, again, behind closed doors, maybe address it on a one-off. But I definitely think that it's important to make sure that you have a conversation in the moment as a group, as a whole, so that way everyone is told once, everyone understands what it is, and whether or not we come to a conclusion, it's been addressed.
That's cool. That's awesome.
I like the way you said that in your tone you can break away from that negative conflict in a positive way, but also like reaffirming, like, yes, I'm in control, like, but taking it down without instigating it.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well put the way you had that said.
Thank you.
And that is good. That's good that, you're not kind of disrespecting the partner, basically bringing them behind closed doors right away. You're doing it all. You're kind of like turning a negative into the positive. So that's cool that you're doing. You're just bringing it back, and that's awesome. You're gaining control, and that's great. How do you deal? So I know we're kind of reiterating here, but how do you deal with the friction within the team? So obviously you're going to have all teams have friction. All teams, not everyone's going to get along. How do you deal? Yeah, like you said, you have different people, you have different areas of approach you got to do with different people. How do you deal with that friction?
Yeah. So when we have district meetings, again, we have 14 store managers with the same type of mindset, drivers and getting results and getting stuff done. Two in particular store managers I know are very opinionated and always want to be right. I remember in this one particular meeting that I'd had, not that I changed the subject, but I turned it into a way where they both were able to kind of take a step back and just reevaluate how were both approaching each other. Because I think ultimately when it comes down to it, when it comes to friction, there needs to be respect. And the second that respect goes out of the door, then it's either a conversation stops and you continue it another day, and or you address it then and there, and hopefully things smooth out. But in their instance, because we were kind of able to kind of dissuade them from them being so tunnel minded, and bring it to where as a whole it's not just about them. It really is about this whole district and how all of us are able to contribute.
Awesome. That's cool. That's cool that you're doing that. So basically, we're all human beings. We all want to be right. we do. I mean, it's human nature.
Yeah.
But we got to learn it. But leaders, managers, got to accept that we're not always going to be right. And that's where listening comes involved. And
Yeah.
being able to collaborate with your partners. I love that word. That's awesome that you guys do that.
Christopher, you haven't used partners before?
No.
And yeah, I like that. That is really cool. That is awesome. So my last question is, how do you allow time for discussion while maintaining a healthy pace for meetings?
So again, I think everyone's opinion is important. I think it's important to, empower partners to share their ideas. I think being planful as far as what those ideas are, we could go down the line. Now, for example, if a partner feels like, they didn't have enough time to be able to discuss whatever it was they were trying to convey, then it's, a conversation of, Christopher, we're going to table that. And the next conversation or meeting that we have, please understand that's going to be the first thing we talk about, because again, it's important for all partners to feel like they're included, and that means being able to talk about any concerns, any frustrations that they may have, even if we aren't able to, get it all in one meeting.
Cool. I could tell that you're really passionate about your job. I just want to say thank you again for being here today. Also, I could tell that you have a lot to offer. You have a lot to offer to your partners, employees. God, I hope my company starts using that word, partners. I like that word. That is really cool. I like that you promote an open door policy. That is nice, and that's always something to value. And that you also support, knowing that your partners are going to move on and go to careers, knowing that, hey, Starbucks is it. This is where you're going to be for the rest of your life. But no, that's awesome that you promote that. So, and you support them on it. So Chris, that's awesome that you have a really good boss. Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, out of curiosity, are you guys all business majors? No.
Nope.
Okay. No.
Why don't we go through the list? Yvonne, what are you studying?
I am going to have a degree in business administration with an emphasis on finance, but I am also organizational leadership business major, organizational leadership.
I'm a organizational leadership major as well.
I'm an organizational leadership major as well as a minor in global health.
Wow.
Oh. Whoa.
This is news for everyone here.
I'm sorry I didn't tell you guys that. You never asked. I want to be a wellness coordinator. That's what I really want to be. I would like to be. I like health. I love everything that has to do with health. So I want to be a health and wellness coordinator.
Nice.
So with these, organizational leadership courses and degrees that you guys will obtain, what do you hope to get out of it?
A job.
Yeah.
I just need to get out of school.
A job in what? Career in what?
Just about anything. My parents are about to kill me if I don't finish. No, I'm hoping to go into sales with my father.
Nice.
Nice. So I'm actually in healthcare. I'm a project manager for a healthcare organization. We own and manage 14 hospitals right now. We just purchased 7 more. So we'll have 21 by the end of this year. And that's public knowledge, so I'm not giving away anything. But organizational leadership for me is a stepping stone in completing my bachelor's, and then I'm going to be rolling straight into my master's in ED. So in 3.5 years, I'll have my ED in either organizational leadership or something along those lines to support my PMP.
Good for you. Yay.
I basically, you already know I want to be a health and wellness coordinator. And now, obviously, if there's not. I mean, I live out in the middle of nowhere, so if health and wellness coordinator isn't around, just basically management. I love leading people. I was in the military for 10 years, so I want to lead. That's basically where I want to be.
Oh, and then and then you already know. I'm not too sure.
Super wants my regional director's job.
I want the boss's job
As soon as possible.
as soon as. Yeah, that's actually literally what I said.
As soon as we're done, right?
Yeah.
I mean, really, if you want something, you got to go get it. You can't expect anyone to give it to you. Chris
Right.
did
Absolutely.
all the time.
Perfect. We're so glad you had time to meet with us and answer some of our burning questions that we've been dying to ask.
Answer.
And yeah, that's awesome. You had a lot of insight, and I want to thank you for all your professionalism. And I could just tell that, Chris, you got a good boss, man. You really do. She has a lot to offer. Learn from her. She's got a lot of experience, man. So that's really cool. It's awesome that you're very passionate about your job. Again, partners, employees that you support them. You are just you're setting them up for success. You're a role model, and that's great. That's something to value, seriously. And I want to move to California.
Come on down. All right, guys.
Winter's coming.
All right, Donalyn. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Donalyn. Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
You guys as well.
All right. Oh, she did it herself. Okay.
Did it herself.
Dude, great job, Kyle. Great job, Hank. Great job, Yvonne.
Great
Absolutely.
job, everyone.
Good job. Good job.
I really liked the contents or the conflict section there. That was
seriously.
Those were my questions that I really wanted to have answered. So I'm glad she took her time with those questions.
Yeah.
So now we're in the post interview. That went well. So we'll just start from the top of the post meeting and start with how did this meeting go? Rely on your from the George Washington University site. We all remember that.
Yeah.
We stuck to the agenda. We got our time right on. I think one thing that I was thinking for myself was that I wish I did more to reiterate what she said about the answers and questions. So like after she was done answering my question, to interject with some of my thoughts. I was just afraid, we were going to be pushing on time.
Yeah.
I think it worked out really well. Other than that, yeah, I would like to have given her some feedback on those answers she's given.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly the point that I felt like I fumbled, really. Like I started tripping over my questions and I was like, wait a minute, that question doesn't make sense. And I was like, yo, keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and then I noticed when you, Hank, I think Kyle was talking and then you came in and you gave your thoughts. And that's where I was kind of thinking, you know what, I should have done something like that. I should have.
Well, and don't worry about fumbling over the questions. You saw me, I sat back for a minute or so, just read my question, make sure it sounded like it made sense in my head. And then I asked the question, maybe give an example or whatever, and then move with it. But I wouldn't worry at all. She's more than patient and happy to.
It was just
to be here.
For myself. I just wish I'd like said what you had said, that I just reiterated into my own words what she had said, just to kind of make the conversation more natural too, right?
No, for sure.
Chris, you had the hardest job because you had to go right away. Where all of us, I was flipping back and forth, listening to her and looking at my questions. So I had it, by the time that it got to me, I had already, I was last one. So
you've already gone over it in your head so many times.
Oh yeah. I was sort of looking at
you already know what she's going to answer. I'm seeing the future.
Exactly. So, but Chris, it's your boss. It's something, I could see you were maybe a little nervous about, but.
Oh yeah.
You know, in the end, as you were progressing, you were doing a really good job. You were fidgeting less. You were not as nervous. I could tell that. I was watching you and you know, it was cool that your mom came in through the refrigerator. That made me laugh. I was about to break off, man. I was like,
I know, man.
camera
That's
over.
all right. The recovery was there. It's all good. It's all
Neo
Oh,
Matrix.
Yeah, there it is. But no, dude, you did a really good job. You were nervous in the beginning, but then you know, you kind of right. He kind of like was
No,
more
definitely.
relaxed.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Kyle.
it went well.
Yeah, you're welcome, dude. Yvonne, what do you got?
I just think it went well. I think she provided some great answers and some great examples. She's definitely Starbucks corporate. You could tell that. 100% down with her job and very passionate about it. That was very good. You okay?
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. I do too like the partners employees things, and you know, that comes through whenever I feel that when I walk into a Starbucks. I don't feel it's as disassociated as I do in some of the other places. Starbucks is inviting. You guys are all working
I
together.
hate Starbucks. I'm sorry, guys. The coffee's just terrible.
Oh my gosh.
I am not a fan. I am sorry, Chris.
You know what? I'm not gonna argue you.
Do you guys have a Dutch Bros out there?
We do, Sacramento.
Yeah, that's so much better.
Oh,
That's where I like to go.
you got to go try our reserve stores, man. Those are the cool spots. Not the regular Starbucks, you know, that I work at. Go to the reserve ones, yeah.
Not the one in the Target?
No, for sure. No, I'm just
Well, that's great. Anyone got anything else on how the meeting went?
I did have a point. I thought I didn't write it. I didn't write it down because I was afraid. But man, I'm sorry. Just keep going. Anyone else?
Oh, no worries. If it comes to you, shoot us a text about it or something. Okay.
It was just more along the lines. I think she was getting kind of confused with some of our questions. I feel like what we were really asking. You know what I mean? And I think that maybe the way we phrased our questions. Not saying that like it was during either Hank's or Yvonne's time where I noticed that I feel like she was getting kind of off topic. You know, do you guys?
I can't think of a particular instance. If I rewatch the video, maybe.
I think we were trying to ask her. Yeah, I would have to watch the video. We were trying to ask her something, and in terms of and she kept going to finance, you know, and it was I think Yvonne did a great job to like reel that back and then you kind of rehash the question, you know, like, oh no, in terms of, you know, what was the word you used? Soft
skills.
Yeah.
So the goals that she made it kind of clear that the goals that she has as a manager position really center around the profit and loss. So it's her job as that manager to watch that bottom line. And those are all financial goals. Those are important, but what we were looking for was more of the synergy of the team and the leadership of it, and really not looking at the financial goals, but of the soft set goals and making certain that the team members flowed together. So yeah, we should have worded that. I think that we were thinking along our lines.
Yeah.
We were forgetting. But another thing too is we switched it up a little bit. The original interview we had that would have suited her a little bit more with ease. And in this one's job is to, you know, it's the bottom line. Starbucks, you're successful.
Well, with one on every corner, you know, you got to hit that line.
Right. But in any retail, your success is dictated by your profit. Mm-hmm. That's it. Accomplishing your financial goals. Whereas in other teams, the goals are they're not the same. So yeah.
Right.
I do want to say, Yvonne, you did a really good job of. It wasn't like you were just reading the question.
Right.
I like it that you put your own personality into the question. I want to say that was a really good job, and I think that was awesome that you did that.
Thank you.
And thank you for doing that because it let me do it.
Thank you.
No, that was really cool. I think you didn't you were just reading it verbatim, how are you doing? What, like.
That was
You're
me.
putting your own- you're putting your own-
you're okay.
Yeah, like
Well, we all had the questions and we understood them. We also understood that she knew them.
Mhm.
It was just instigating the conversation. I think we all did a good job with that.
Yeah. And again, like I said, Chris, you really relaxed at the end there. You really did, and you should really pride yourself on it. Hanky, you did hanky stuff. You did
Hanky.
good.
Thank you.
Consistent, baby. I'm not a showstopper, but I'm consistent.
That's okay. Stopper. Superstar. You're a superstar.
Great. Anything else, guys?
I think that's
We good to move on?
Mhm.
Fantastico. We have any changes for the next meeting? Next meeting is Friday, 5 o'clock, content meeting. Just have your notes done. It's pretty easy. It's kind of like reflective on the course because we're nearing the end.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we should go and upload the our revision here. We haven't changed a ton, but I think it might help make more sense to the professor. And I think she's looking for a resubmit. If not, then no problem.
Okay.
But
All right. Do you
we
think
might
we
as
should
well.
directly answer some of those questions or just simply leave it as we resubmitted it? What do you want to do?
I don't know. What are you guys feeling? Because that is a good question. We could go through the bubbles. But I think what we should do instead is resubmit and attach a little comment to it, because you can attach a comment to your submission and say, we took your advice. This is a resubmit of the agenda.
Let's first do that. Let's first do the resubmit, because then if she comes back and says something, then we have at least this week.
Right. She can pop in during our content meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, do that. Let's do that first before we start.
Okay.
Okay. Did you want me to take care of that resubmit, or since it would keep the original that I submitted, did somebody else want to do a resubmit? And then we can just email.
No, I think you should do it.
You think I should do it?
Otherwise, she's going to think that it's the same thing. Just we had two submitters and that we don't know what we're doing.
Okay, I will resubmit tonight then. And then I'll also, do you think, I want to email her and I'll copy everyone in just saying we resubmitted this based on your comments and we adjusted and we had our interview today.
Mm-hmm.
And should you want me to invite her to our Friday meeting if she had any questions?
If she wants. Yeah, you could just say if you have any questions, we have our Friday meeting at 5.
Okay.
Then that should keep everything a nice flow.
Okay. I'll also go ahead and call Professor just so she knows. I know she likes her phone calls, so I'll go ahead and do that so she draws her attention to the fact that we resubmitted.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, and just slap a comment on there that says exactly what you said.
Sure.
So proud of you, made your bed.
I just threw the comforter over it. I have clean clothes underneath it in my computer.
Oh, don't ruin it.
Oh, it looks so much better now.
You gave me anxiety now. Jeez. Kyle, I want to say I was very proud of you. You only mentioned the military, Wisconsin, and wanting to come to California one time during the whole conversation.
I had to hold back a lot. My wife is right now, and she's here in California,
and you didn't show your goats once. I was like, he's gonna show goats. He's gonna show them.
So our last item before finishing up today is reviewing the content for next weekend, or the instructions for the next meeting, and our date and time and roles.
Right.
So I think we're keeping the same rules, or are we moving them? Chris, how many times have you been hosting? I feel like
past 3 meetings, I think.
Yeah. So I can take host, or Yvonne can take host. Kyle will kill us if we give him host.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to. During that interview, my internet kept saying unstable. Well, I was like, what is it? Whatever,
I'm surprised there was a train going by her house and not yours.
I know.
Yeah, well, I had my window closed, so I made sure I had my windows closed.
So, Yvonne, do you want to take host, or should I?
I'm showing you your facilitator.
Yeah, so I can do facilitator and you can take host.
Okay, and then
Chris can challenge. I don't know
I'll
if
do.
Chris is challenged.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll host and submit. Chris will be the challenger, and Kyle's the jokester and the timekeeper, right?
Cool. I like it.
Okay.
So instructions, we got joke of the day, chapters 5 and 6 from the text. You've got the overview, 2 articles, which aren't too bad. I've done most of this already.
Yeah.
A video on the marshmallow challenge, and it's not like the cinnamon challenge. You'll be disappointed. And then
That one's been around for a while, actually. I want to say pretty close to 20 years, that marshmallow
really?
challenge. Yeah. That one and the, I don't even know what it's called, the one that they have with the fish in the with Seattle. Have you guys seen that one? I'll have to find. Okay, then good. Yeah, I don't want to ruin it then. Let's see it.
Okay. And then there's another website article. We're just going to go through and do what we've done a bazillion times before.
Yep.
Does anyone have any real questions for next week or considerations? Everyone's available.
Nope. Yep. I did all the readings already, so you guys will enjoy them. The book actually, chapter 5 and 6, really gives some good ideas and some valuable information. So I think
I'm
it's
surprised we haven't used the book
a good reading.
more.
I know, and I had to pay for that damn thing. I was like,
Did you? I rented mine.
I did. I did rent it from Chegg.
Yeah.
I think I bought mine for like $20, $30.
Yeah, no, I rented mine for a couple bucks. Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a great meeting, guys. I think, we hit everything we needed to. We didn't lollygag hardly at all. Anyone got some input, some last thoughts?
Nope. Friday, 9/27 at 5 o'clock. I'll send the Zoom meeting since I'm the host and record.
Cool.
All right.
Get those readings and videos done, guys. Chris, you've got to upload the video.
I'm going to end the meet. Oh, wait, stop recording. Should I stop the recording first or end the meeting?
Stop the recording?
Yeah.
Stop.